Thank you. So this is someone
Karen's busy with her books.
who is a child that doesn't write fiction books, and this one actually story. He likes non.
Hey, if we all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Just a quick announcement, should we not be able to complete this meeting in 90 minutes, we'll have to recess because the board has a meeting with council at 7:30. So, we're gonna chop.
Okay. Let me just do a motion for the consent agenda. How fast do you want to move?
We only have 3 checks, so we'll read those out.
Those on the consent agenda for everyone.
Kristen Cooler, $429.86. Matthew Kuchar, $492.50, and Michael O'Brien, $294.13, for a total of $1246.49.
Just pass all that. Ready? Katie Coppola, 241.25. Shayla Gherkin is 144. Mary Lyons Hall is 278.50. Janice Weirs is 838.28. Kiki Dodge Wall, 729.65. Caleb Smith is 73.88. Katie Blazek Ahern is 790.54. Jeffrey Collins is 802.39. Wayne Robinson is $1,056.84. Kip Kaiser is 834.31. Thomas S. is 226.26. Julian Benedicts is 545.24. Karen Clement, 1,326.18.
I'll pause 1 second.
Sure.
Do you have a, Karen is fine, there's a adjustment email in here?
Yep, so we took it out of Jillian's check.
That's the 545.
545, okay, that's fine.
Heather Haggett, 351.46. Joyce Kegel is 542.63. Tamara Peak is 772.98. Daphne Wass is 843.96. Joseph Burr is 1,110.43. John Bryan is 686.76. Adam R. Chalmers is 285.34. Keith Culligan is 578.48. Alexander Hall is 235.76. Timothy Levante is 243.80. Barry Levine is 479.34. Katrina Tennant is 950.27. Trevor Whitby is 703.19. Eli Beam is 393 even. William Dow is 261.58. Elizabeth Fettersfield is 241.26. Jason Bagman is 325.22. Andrew Gray is 672.57. Kendra Brackett is 581.29. Justin Doty is $1,259.53. Robert Gagnon is $512.32. Matthew Kelly is $1,990.73. Kevin Nealand is $1,557.84. James Saltzman is $804.73. Christopher Spitaleri is $1,499.80. Josh Turner is $72.33. John Ventura is $1,469.50. Jared Wright Ward is $849.37. Robert McCon is $402.88. And Jeremy Worcester is $212.63.
Total direct deposit, $28,778.20.
For a combined total of $29,994.69. We had 5 hours overtime in the PD, 1 at the fire, and 3 at the highway.
Good catch.
Thanks. Good throw those.
It's a short list too,
Big
ready?
part of it. Ready.
Air Gas, $67.50. Ben's Uniform, $185. Block 5 Technology, $17,681.50. Casella Waste Systems, $26,527.01.
Hang on there, sorry.
So it's probably this total.
Okay, so just go back one.
Block
Black.
Block 5 is $17,681.50.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Casella was $26,526.01.
Keep going. All the ones that match.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
One more.
526 or 527?
527.01.
Holy moly.
Wow.
Here you go.
I'm
Here's the
caught up.
soda.
You good? C&M Cleaning, $1,770.01. Exeter Hospital, $306.96. First Light is $173.31. Frank's Repair Service, $793.50. Great American Financial
Hold up,
Services.
there's 793.50. This is a real page turner.
There's multiple.
I'm giving you the time
instances.
cards next time.
It's almost like you have a 500-page novel.
John's just excited that he got the lottery on this one today.
Alright. Go ahead. Yeah, so,
We on Great American Financial Services,
Yeah.
$217.09.
okay,
Joyce Keegles, $26.25.
okay,
McPherson's Firearms is $1,710.
yep,
Mitchell Municipal Group is $3,090.90.
got it.
Oliver Mechanical is $4,375. Quadient Finance is $1,010 even.
Okay,
Tech Inc. is $600 even.
yep,
Valak is $211.45, and WB Mason, $75.46.
Total, checks 58,920.94.
Now I have to play with it. I have to write on every page. Thanks.
Not bad, look at that, 6 minutes.
Can I keep this in with the?
Almost
Or do you want to?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't, you can either.
Thank you.
We have rec checks.
Oh, sorry, I clicked on
Yep.
that.
Should be there, yeah.
That was my fault.
Motion for consent agenda.
They all sign.
I believe they're all
Second, the
signed.
consent agenda.
Have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
alright,
Anybody opposed? Come on, Bob. Minutes?
Motion for the minutes.
That's in the consent agenda.
Yeah. I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
it was
that's right.
good. I'm like, wait a minute, okay.
like,
I don't see it on here, I see consent agenda, but I don't see that.
Chief one?
He's arrived.
You're here, you're first.
early.
All right, folks, I don't know what. I don't have much.
Sorry, I'm not.
This is not pertaining to anything. Anyway, so we've got National Night Out coming up. And there's a couple of items that I'm gonna be shooting for next year that we don't have any approval for or anything yet, but I wanna start trying to promote these ideas, and none of them are foreign to you. First and foremost is the building. I finally had some time to sort of dissect what was done prior to my arrival. There was a significant amount of great work done before I got here about the building. I truly thought it was gonna take a long time to kind of get everything ready and get all the nuts and bolts together. And lo and behold, there was a lot of that great work done, a lot of volunteer work done too, and some great work by Kip, and Dick Chamberlain, and many other people, and I think you were part of that as well, so thank you. Needless to say, I looked at the plans and I was impressed. There's some little minor things in there, but those are really cosmetic and office space rearrangement for the building that has been proposed, and so and I think, well, you weren't here, so I'll explain a little bit of that. The Bible, as they call it, was done by a group of engineering students in Vermont.
I
It's
think it's
very-
Castleton, right?
Rich.
What is it?
Norwich.
Norwich, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, it's quite comprehensive, and it contained a lot of information. There was a lot of research done. There were 3 different areas that were proposed. They actually scored those different areas, and the best area that came up with that was town-owned property is up behind the fire station on the hill. Visible from 125, but not a curb to 125. So a lot of work went into this, a lot of work went into the plans. And I've spoken to a lot of people in town, and there's a lot of support for this, at least anecdotally and verbally to me. What that looks like in terms of a vote remains to be seen. So my early prediction was maybe we'll get this going by 24. I'd really like to try to shoot for 23 if I can with this. So I'd like to at least start showing the public what work has been done on it. And the only thing I wanted to kind of give you folks a heads up is, we have National Night Out coming up. I'm gonna take the drawings that were done, I'm gonna there was a rendition of the exterior of the building. And then there were two floor plans, if you will, for the 2 floors of the building. I simply just wanna blow those up and kind of promote it at National Night Out as a board to say, hey, this is all the great work that's been done by a building committee, previously held up by, among other things, COVID. And we just wanna start promoting it, because I'm not gonna, people need to start being educated on what the work was done and what the proposal looks like. Again, my reason being here is I didn't wanna throw it up there and right out and I'd be, oh, you guys show up and go, what the heck is this, John? Sort of just a heads up, I wanna start doing that and promoting this. And getting the committee together, we've had some discussions, we haven't been able to meet yet, but I've met with a couple of individual committee members. And again, a lot of headway made. Really makes my job more of an educational piece and a promotional piece to try to get the voters on board for this. And we've got, I wanna do some other, I wanna pull some other numbers that were absent from the report that I thought would be relevant in terms of economic growth. Because I think that's a very relevant part to what we're trying to do in Brentwood as a whole. I think we have an economic development committee, right, that's very active, is my understanding. So there's a little bit more groundwork on that, but I didn't want you to all be surprised if you saw a board at National Night Out. So do you have any questions on that?
I'm all for it, I think,
It's time to start.
we put a couple years in it, so.
Those
Time to start
plans
letting
are
them
now, what, 4 or 5 years old?
Their 2020 is the publication of the book,
Oh,
but
okay.
what
Oh,
they did,
okay.
and again, this
I
is
thought
how
it went further
We
back.
comprehensive.
started about 3 years ago.
I guess we talked about it. I remember when Ellen was chief, she had brought it to.
This is how comprehensive
way
of a
back.
job they did. They actually did it with a projection what the 2023 numbers for the build-out might look like.
Right.
Now, I don't think anybody could have anticipated the rate of inflation, so we'd have to build that, but at least there was a lot of forethought about what 2023 dollars might look like for the folks in town. So, I just want to start putting it out there in the public, that's all.
Is that committee still active?
I'm getting it active. Again, I met with a couple of individual members. Bob and I haven't been able to connect.
Yeah, we paused on the committee, waiting for John to kind of get in place, and we agreed as a group that we would wait for him to get his feet wet, so to speak.
Feet are soaking wet, ready to go.
There you go. So we were waiting for him to come in place, and then we would post the meeting again and then start over. And look at, if he's comfortable with the plans, have him walk the site, see if he's okay with that. Even looking at the old sites that we looked at, just to get his feel for it.
Now, I will dispel a bit of a rumor. There was a rumor, and it was actually in the plans of a potential shooting range downstairs. I'm not in favor of that at all, just to let you all know. I think that's a disaster waiting to happen for the town, liability-wise. Residents would not appreciate that. You can put as much soundproofing in there as you can, and you're gonna still hear the pop-pops. I don't think it's the time for Brentwood to have an indoor range. This is my thought. In case anybody had heard that was in the place, because it was in there on one other drawing. But the other problem with that is we'd be the most popular PD probably in Rockingham County. I'm not interested in that popularity. It would, because eventually I'd be the bad guy, because I'd have to shut people off. Because eventually people will, they won't do what you ask them to do, and then we're cleaning up the mess, and it just wouldn't work out. So anyway, the second thing I want to promote on that, and I think I have made no bones about the fact that I would like to bring a K-9 unit back to Brentwood. I'm not interested in a patrol dog per se. I don't want a shepherd. I think I told the company I've been bit twice by friendly fire. It's not very fun. And there is a need for it. We have a drug corridor on 125. We have a need for more community policing. And a nice shiny black lab that's gonna lick your face rather than bite it off is a great way to community police too. It's a great segue for all stretches of life that we have here in Brentwood. But there's a significant outlay to that, and what I've told the officers that if you want a canine program, we must raise all of the funds to get it off the ground. And that's gonna be by donation. That will be through the association, not the PD itself. I have the sergeant working on, they've already gone to Service Credit Union, we're restarting the association so that we can take donations appropriately through that. The estimated startup cost for this is $20,000, so it's significant. Now, the budgetary portion that I'll be asking for in the fall, if we get a significant amount of money raised by then, is I ran my canine program that I started from scratch in Wakefield on a budget of less than $3,000 a year. And I think I can certainly do that here too. So that's what I'm gonna start promoting at National Night Out also, is the potential for a canine program in Brentwood, and that we would like to take donations for that.
What's the manpower cost? I know that's more than $3,000 because we did it.
Yeah, the manpower cost I would build in, that's really built into my, because it's a patrol function. So the officer would be on duty anyway, so it's not like we're hiring a new officer. The $20,000 goes to the build out of the cruiser, because we would take a Tahoe and turn it into a K9 cruiser. That would go to the purchase of the dog, and that would go to all the training necessary to convert that dog from a regular dog to superpower dog.
That includes the kennel.
With goggles, no kidding. You're gonna be in
It's
charge
called
of putting the goggles on.
Rec specs. I can get them on a dog. And heck, I've already been bit before, so I'm good.
What it looks like for a catering program is, you must give them hours towards their pay for care of the dog at home, because this is a take-home dog, we don't care it here. It's 4 hours a week, okay? So essentially what would happen is the canine officer would be responsible for working 4 9-hour shifts, and then they would get the 4 hours for the care at home. The training would really be built into the training budget. It's really, they're only required so many hours per month, and it's not so extensive that it blows the budget out of the water. We have a significant training budget, and I would just dip right into what our training budget is as it is. So it's, again, it's the $2,500 a year budget is really for if there's any vet care that's not donated by area veterinarians. That's for toys, food, and other incidentals and training things. After a certain period of time, that I can actually apply to order controlled drugs for training purposes for the dog, and that would go into that cost as well.
I'm still burnt from the last 2 dogs we had. So.
Yeah, what happened? Like, how did the last one come to an end? I don't remember.
Well, we had one that we basically had to, that one went to a jail if I remember correctly, because it was better off suited to walk around the perimeter and not have any interaction with any human.
Which is again why I don't want to bite.
Yeah. And then the second one, when George left and went to the sheriff, that dog went with him.
Gotcha.
Sold the dog to him.
Yeah, the other thing this does, just so you know, the other thing
There
that
was
this
issues,
does.
I think, that we had an agreement.
Well, I think generally the dog is not easily transferred to another handler.
Right.
So we sold the dog.
So
We didn't have the staff to train somebody.
I found that.
And this, and all this, what this does is it retains a good officer for another, because I make them sign a 5-year contract as a canine officer, so they're here
Oh, really?
for 5 additional years over their 3-year contract. So you get the, and there's a buyout, if they leave, they gotta buy the dog out. So we get that back. This isn't a free, just take the dog when you wanna go. Now, but there's a provision in there that if they serve out that contract and they wanna buy that dog for $1 after they're done, they can.
But they have to do 5 years first.
They've gotta do the 5 years, yes. So it's somewhat of a retention model too. Because it does no good to have a canine handler every 2 years. It just doesn't do any good. And that's just for a minimum of 5 years. And what I would also do as part of that is try to retain them for a normal employment. Because a dog doesn't just have 5 useful years of work.
I would assume a lab's probably got more useful years than.
Many would, yes.
a bite
But the
dog.
initial contract is for a 5-year contract.
Chief, your phone's going off.
Oh, sorry.
I'm like,
That's all right. It's
not mine.
They'll figure it out.
So,
All the important people are here anyway.
overall budget impact, annually, you're looking at $3,000?
Less than $3,000. In terms of just an additional budgetary line to my budget.
What was the cost approximately, do you know, from when we had the other canine?
I want to, well, maybe the original outset, but I think in the budget it was only like 2,500, 2,000, 2,500.
Similar.
And then Mitchell Animal Hospital donated all of the vet care, so I would,
Your big cost with a dog is the 4 hours a week that you lose a patrol officer,
Right.
and then how many ever hours a month that he's in training is, he's no longer on the road. So that's your loss. There's really not a monetary huge number once it's going.
Right.
Yeah.
And where and that 4 hours isn't, it's not a big loss, is how I would categorize it. I didn't notice any big disruption in service in Wakefield when I started that program at all. And it was extremely well received by the
Any grants available from the state, since a lot of the work will be done on 125?
grants are very tough on that. I would apply for training grants in the future, yes, without a doubt. I've always got my eyes on those. And this dog would come from the same trainer and program that I got my dog from Wakefield in. That dog from Wakefield, I would put it against any patrol dog right now, and it would, hands down, great dog.
Do you have canine presentation going on for August 2nd, the first night out?
We do. We have patrol dogs. A little more exciting than seeing a lab dog find a ball with heroin in it.
Can I put goggles on that?
Consequently, the training, just so you know, when I went through with Wakefield, my guy had to go to Boston. What they've done is one of the significant trainers for the Boston group has branched out in New Hampshire with support from the Boston program. And he is now 14 miles from Barrington, so it's much closer. And we do have a canine officer that's already in line for it, that'll be Matt Kelly.
And he's already been a canine officer?
Nope, but he's the one. And I think he would be terrific at it, quite frankly. So, it's only 14 miles from his house for training.
How do the rest of your officers feel about it? Like, do they?
They all support it,
They're in
and they're
favor?
great. There's not been one, hey, I want a dog yet, nothing at all. Because they've got to be realist about what their home life is like, because you're adding a family member. I know it's a working dog, but you're adding a family member to that. That's quite a dynamic. So those folks with kids might think a second about it, because can't be a pet all the time, right? And then those folks that live in an apartment that might not be able to have a dog, they've got to think about those constraints. So I haven't had any animosity towards that selection at all.
And in terms of addition to policing, it's mostly illicit substance investigation?
Illicit
that we would
substance,
use?
search and rescue, we won't have as much of that down here as I have, but certainly search and rescue. A trained search and rescue, we're gonna try to train it to be an article dog as well, which, we are certified as an article dog up north. There was one, and it found a gun that was used in a crime that was ditched in the woods, so stuff like that.
So articles are items?
Items, yeah. And then the other thing that we're going to look at is potential, we talked to the trainer already, is down the line certified as a bomb dog, which would be very helpful at the track.
What was that again?
Bomb
Bomb.
detection.
Andy, what are your thoughts, since you're in that field? I'm gonna go,
I've
whatever you
always-
say, I'm going with, 'cause I
There was
learned
only
my
one
lesson
time I
last
didn't
time.
support the canine program, and that was because of the dog.
I will tell you, and again, we haven't committed to anything, not a thing. But there's already a dog lined up, it's a black lab, it's a female, hasn't even got a name yet. But, they understand that this all is subject to us raising the required funds by donation only. I told them I would not go to the town and ask for $20,000 for that, just can't do it. But, again, I'm just looking for permission to just kind of promote it for donations at this point.
What's your time frame that you'd need to raise the money by to make it
If
happen
they already have the
effectively?
dog, I assume it's gotta be pretty quick.
The dog's still going to train for at least another 6 months, I think. It would be a spring training dog.
How old's the dog?
I think it might be 12 weeks maybe.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe 10, somewhere around there. I saw a picture of it over the weekend. And they said, meet Poem. I said, what?
It doesn't sound like
I said, can we choose a different name maybe? But anyway, but they know that there's been zero commitment from the town, rightfully so, because nothing has been approved. But in order to get the program going, we have to do a couple of things and to get more, that's all. Because these dogs are at a high demand right now. You're not getting a lot of PDs like our size and throughout New Hampshire and even New England that are ordering patrol dogs anymore. They're all ordering search rescue, drug detection, and comfort dogs. So, anyway, I just want your permission to just promote it. That's all.
What's a comfort dog? What breed is that?
Comfort
well,
dog
it's-
is
No, but
anything,
what kind of dog is it?
usually like a
Is it a
golden.
lab too, or?
Have you seen my dog, and have you seen the town offices with my dog walks in?
That's
a comfort.
I've seen it with my dogs. Usually they have black
No,
clothes on and they come out
There,
with
there
black
is,
clothes.
there is training that goes into these dogs. Greenland has a comfort dog, Concord PD has a comfort dog. I think Greenland's is a golden retriever. A lot of times you see them as goldens, that's what I
For
said.
like agitated people and that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring it in anywhere to an environment, you can bring it into an elderly community for comfort. You could bring it into a school after a traumatic incident as a comfort.
Victims.
You know, victims
Yeah,
all the
makes
time,
sense.
you know what I
But
mean?
they were usually Goldens.
Yeah,
So those
something
are a lot of,
fluffy, happy, that wants to lick your face.
That's not what we're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I
I
was
mean, our
wondering if
dog
the
will
lab
be
would do the
comfortable,
same
Right,
thing.
don't get me wrong, you know,
Yeah, I just wanted to
but
make sure
this
we
is,
were,
but this is the type of thing you can bring to a national night out. You can bring to a parade, and you can dress it up, and you can do all these things, and it's still a patrol dog for the town of Brentwood, you know what I mean? It's a dynamite community policing tool, it really is. And again, it all goes to that retention model too, you know?
And the
Because that
difference,
attracts people to come here too, to work.
The
They see
difference
we
from
got a canine.
before is we had more like bite trained dogs. Like,
Yes.
this would be a sort of a transition to a different style
Yep.
of canine.
Gentler, kinder, kinder,
Yeah, I
kinder,
think
gentler.
what are they, Malinois?
Yeah.
Malinois? And those, that's all we really had, right?
Yeah.
And those dogs have a important function in police work, I'm not downplaying those dogs, they have an important function. I just don't see that as a necessary function in Brentwood. Because quite honestly, you could walk outside of Brentwood and you could trip over patrol dogs, there's so many of them around. Which is great, so when we need one, we call them.
I think that's reasonable to, start a fundraising effort and keep us posted on how it's going.
Sounds like a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
I didn't hear anything from you, so I'm waiting to hear if you were yay or nay.
I
I said I'd go whichever way you went, so.
I'm a yay.
Okay,
I
there
think,
we go, there's a yay.
That is a
Are
unanimous
we
vote.
okay with the promotion of the building too? I don't know if
Yeah.
I needed a motion, but I just wanna, I didn't want you guys to show up at National Night Out and go, what's the chief doing? That's all this was.
I don't mind seeing it, but the numbers, I think the impact to the town and the numbers, in a potential recession with the inflation that we're looking at in the budget.
Oh, totally. get you.
well, it'll have to be a bond item.
Yeah, that would be a 20-year
It-
bond probably.
Still, we gotta,
There may be some.
No, I know.
Is there
I don't,
any?
but John, my point is,
there's
I
been
gotta start
no
somewhere.
oh yeah,
raise
absolutely,
in
but
funds,
I'm like,
There's
okay with
75,000.
And I don't
a
wanna,
poster, but
I don't wanna make all the great work these folks did on it to go stale.
absolutely.
I just wanna keep it relevant, that's all,
Yep.
that's my whole purpose.
And you might have to do some modifications anyway, because I know it was built with a certain standard, and those standards are always evolving. And so
Yep.
the more times we leave it on the shelf, the more chances it's gonna evolve, because even after you build this, once we finally decide to build the station, you put the station in, and I'm sure the fire chief could tell you too, the station's not that old, but there's probably stuff in there that's probably outdated already.
But not
As long as it's not the chief, then we're,
Thank you, Chief.
right, chief? Thank you for your time, folks, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chief two?
And Andy, you can never say I didn't ask. What are you gonna do? Learn from the last one.
You left a stain on the table. Buy your books and all you do is chew the covers off. I'm gonna get wet. It was there it is.
Tim is going swimming.
Yeah, okay. So you guys received the packet, I assume it's got the issues that I'm
Yep.
in here for tonight. Talk about buildings and starting to get old. This one's 10 years old already, working on 11. Different things are creeping up. Had an air conditioning unit go out As you can see, the bill was $3,500, and when they figured that out, there was another one proposed for $575 behind that to get the thing squared away so we don't replace the compressor in it again this year. It was kind of the way they did it. The fortunate part I've had up until this point, because I actually had one repaired before this, I had a guy that was on the department that worked for HVAC, but he is buried in his commitments, hence the reason we are now outsourcing things. As it comes around again and he's available, I try to take advantage of those things. Then it basically costs you the parts and what I pay him an hour. So he's actually saved you money. Then the generator connection, which is the lovely backup power that we've got to the station, has got a maintenance that's done twice a year on it. They come in and they go through everything, they change the oils and whatever else needs to be done. On the major one, they come back usually in the spring. The minor one gets done. They've done the minor one, they're coming back to do the major one. They have changed out one solenoid on it already. They need to change out a second one, and they neglected to tell me that every 3 to 5 years you should do a load test on it. Hence the $760 for the load test. So basically I'm looking to, these are not budgeted items, I'm looking to take the money out of the, which fund is it, Karen?
The capital reserve fund.
The
for
capital
maintenance of
reserve
town
fund for
buildings.
maintenance of the building.
Make a motion.
So you're looking for 4,825 or 5,215?
Well, if you're generous, I'll take the 5,215.
He already
The
has
300, the 390 is technically budgeted already. But I'm sure between now and the end of the year, we will find something to spend that $390 on.
Which number you want to move, Bob?
I'm gonna move the 4,825.68 since we already had budgeted for the 390.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion of 4,825.68 being taken out of the capital reserve for building maintenance? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Just so you know, the building, like I said, is starting to show its age a little bit, and these things are gonna continually creep up, so.
And Chief, do you feel like you have a better sense now about how to budget some of this over the next few years?
We had discussed this earlier, and Karen's feelings were that we would kind of continue to budget for the immediate things, the things that we know
That
we're
you
gonna
know.
do, and then
Okay.
come back for these things rather than try to figure out a
'Cause it's
budget
hard to
around.
guess.
Yeah, I could have nothing next year and 4 things the year after and that type of thing. Just to make everybody aware, starting July 30th, we will start the 24-hour rotation. We will be starting with 3 people, but that will be the start of the full-time 24-hour-a-day coverage.
Nice.
I'm still looking for the 4th one. It's been a nightmare, and everybody's in the same boat, especially when you're watching the full-time departments around you start dropping their standards. So, we're working on it.
How many openings right now for firefighters and?
I have no idea, I've lost track, it's crazy.
There was what, 70 something a while ago?
Yeah, it's probably still in that neighborhood. I know Exeter's pretty well filled theirs, but they're still looking for 1. Hampton, I don't know, I think they filled 2, they're still looking for 2. Bedford was looking for 10. Laconia was looking for 10. So, it's,
And we've still got the 2 open?
I've got 1.
We filled 1,
I've
right?
filled 1 and I've got 1 open. I filled 1 from in-house.
Right.
The way things are going, I don't know whether the gentleman I offered it to would be still available at that time. I've got a couple of people in-house that I'm looking at too, but they need a couple of requirements. I'd like to do it from in-house. They'll probably be taking their CPAT in September, and depending on where they stand, we may be back in here saying, a year from now, if they fulfill this, can I hire them at this point? So I've got a couple of people I'm looking at for that.
So even just with that 1 hire, you've got sufficient staffing to start your 24
I
hours?
want to
Or
start
it's
the
pretty-
24 because I
it's
want to make
pretty
it
thin?
fair to I want to make it fair to the 2 guys that have been here for a while. It opens up an extra shift for me. It creates an extra shift during the day. I'm hoping right now, I've covered it for the month of August, I've covered it, but I'm gonna kind of take a step back from the way I did that, because I want to continue to include my call people, and when you sit down and start figuring some things out, it's not fair the way it went down, but I promised this out to a couple of people already. So we're coming back with a different perspective on it. So that night, there'll be 2 openings, and that'll be the way it'll work. And then there'll be an extra opening during the day, and hopefully I can get enough people interested in covering it. But at least it gets the program started, and at least it gets 3 nights that I've got at least 1 person on, so.
Okay.
And that's a 2 on, 1 on, 2 on off, 2 off shift, and the 1 on, 4 off is the way the rotation will work. So you get an idea how that's gonna work. There are different scenarios for that. Bedford runs a 1 on, 3 off type of thing, but I think this one works out better for the guys and makes it fair for everybody, so that's the one I've come up with. That's pretty much what I've got for the evening, unless anybody's got any questions.
Have a good night.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Janice? Since we're spending money,
I know, I was gonna say, we got one more.
Good, how are you?
Thank you for adding me to the agenda.
what do you have after Joe?
I think about 85.
So there's still like 85 left in the
In
fund.
building maintenance.
So
What's
thank you for
yours?
adding me to the agenda. Last year, we had 2 of our ECs taken care of. We thought we would be okay with the 3rd one for another couple of years, but lo and behold, this year it has decided to ice up on us. The ice is actually breaking through. It's coming out the compressor outside as well as the inside unit in the basement. So right now, we've had to turn that AC off. We're running the entire building with 1 air conditioner. Upstairs, 1 air conditioner downstairs, and then the original part of the building has a window unit. So that 1 unit upstairs is working really hard, especially this week. I don't know how quickly I can get this done, but I did get a quote from Bruce Hermano, who has done work for the town and did our other 2 units. So basically, I'm here to ask for, I think it's $5,300.
Would it be cheaper to go with a split if you're running window AC unit?
Well, so that's the other part, I was gonna get to that in a minute. So we're also looking to, I've got an appointment with Revision Energy to put a split in the original unit. And we're gonna use impact fees for that, I believe, or at least we're looking to use impact fees. We've had just under 10,000 visitors to the library in the last 12 months, and Andy can probably attest to that. We've been busy. So, and at times we've had as many as 150 people in the building in a day. And actually, that was on a Monday, so it's a 5-hour period. So our ACs are not, they're not
How many,
operating well enough.
how much do we have an impact fee?
For the library?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just thinking if they put in 2 splits, that would be new. So you'd be able to use the impact fees. And I think that would be more efficient, energy-wise.
To take out one of the
To
units.
take out this unit, you can just basically, take it out and abandon that area. And now you put in a split, it's gonna be so much more efficient for you guys. And the good thing is they can actually work in reverse as a heat pump.
Right,
So, energy-wise, you can't beat a split, and if you're
Right.
using a window unit and these things are struggling to keep up with the building, I put in 2 splits. It's just a win-win, and I can get a split for around $30,000, $3,500. So, do I shell out $5,300 into a traditional system that I have to recover the R22 and all that other stuff, or do I just abandon it and throw in 2 splits?
so one in
For-
the main, one in the original building and one in the main area.
Correct, and you're gonna
The-
get much
well,
more efficiency out of that.
I like that idea. The only problem I have is, as it is, we're looking at probably closer to the fall before we can get that 1 split in. And I've asked Bruce to also give me a quote, and he can't even touch it right now. He's got too much on his plate. So we're gonna go the whole summer. But I do like the idea of the splits. I think
Even
it's,
if we can get, I'm sure we can reach out, and I can even look in my basement and see if we have any window units to get you through the season. If you got enough windows over there, we know
Right.
that.
I have a portable unit,
Yeah,
that's
so-
a beast, that you
Yeah.
guys can just have.
And I think you bring over the window units, utilize those, and then it's gonna last so much longer by putting those units in than it is going back the traditional route. And everything is turning into going to those splits.
Right,
Even in my house, I have central air, and I can tell you right now, if that central air was to go, I'm gonna take out the unit in the attic, I'm gonna take out the unit downstairs, and I'm gonna have a big old closet, because I'm gonna take back a huge space.
yeah,
And now I would go back with splits, because they're just so much more efficient, and you can use them as a heat pump down the road.
right.
So if you do put like solar or something like that, well, it's just more efficient.
Mhm.
So what do we got in there? Do you know?
But I don't think we're at 3,500 anymore, because
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got
No,
a
3,000
quote like
was what I was looking at.
6 or 7,000.
35 is
mine I just put in was 8,500 for a double,
double split,
so.
you know.
And revision is sort of estimating around 7,000 for that one
How
unit.
much do you have?
46,000 in impact fees.
46,000?
But I don't know if the original one can be impact fees because it's a replacement.
Right.
You could use it for half the cost of
But if
the,
you abandon it though, you are putting in new, you're doing an energy efficiency upgrade.
If you could qualify it as an upgrade, then you could still use that as impact fees.
I would.
well, it would be an
rather-
upgrade because it would have heat.
It has heat, it
true.
does both. I would recommend you go with 2 splits. Get the quote for the split, we have the money in the impact fees, and we already know if you don't use them, you lose them.
Right,
Because we're gonna have to pay them back.
right,
You got that much money sitting in there.
yeah.
I mean, I know we're gonna use, well, we can't use it for the amphitheater because it's already there.
Mhm.
So this is a big expense.
Is it gonna be an upgrade?
And then
Yeah. The amphitheater.
Put an elevator in.
above Bruce, I think there's a couple people in town that install them. That you can get quotes from.
What's the other,
Heat Pro,
Heat Pro does those?
and then
Ethical Home Pro does them.
I think the place that moved in next to McPherson Firearms,
Oh, Diamond.
Diamond Mechanical.
Yeah, Diamond Mechanical.
Right, so Heat Pro,
Diamond Mechanical on 125.
Diamond Mechanical.
But I would lean more towards that, because I think they're more efficient, number one, energy wise and everything else. And you get a better, such a better, I mean, it's cooler,
Yeah.
temperature wise, and I can run it in reverse and get a heat pump at the same time.
Right,
And we can use it all on impact fees.
right.
You and John are gonna donate air
I was
conditioners
gonna
to
say, so
Janice.
who's
And
gonna
I
help me
will-
get, who's gonna help me get settled now?
I will go into my basement, see what I have for AC
Sure,
units.
yeah, sounds like if John can donate.
I can give you.
Because
Okay,
I know I think I have a couple in the basement, I will definitely go and look, because I know,
And if,
right now we have it
I have my
turned
sister
off and we're using the fan to try to circulate the air as much as we can, and that seems to be doing okay. It's not doing anything for the office, so the office is getting hot, and there's parts of the library that are warm, but for the most part, as long as that one unit doesn't have to get taxed too much, I think we'll be okay.
I'll bring it over tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
yeah, when I go home later on, I'll go check and see what I have.
All right, thank you.
if you don't have anything, text me. If, can you have Wayne stop by my house and install one tomorrow?
Wayne's going on vacation, but Kate and Jeff could do that.
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Just because I'll be at work and they can run it over and throw it in the window,
Awesome.
sitting in the garage.
I just gotta look and see what I have. I know I must have some somewhere. I think you got enough windows over there,
Yeah,
just getting put in.
and then I have an appointment with revision at the end of this month, so I'll talk to them about doing 2.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, I think just energy wise, and we have the money in there, let's go that route.
Yeah,
And it's a smaller area outside too, because you just have that one head outside and get rid of the big bulky air conditioning thing.
yeah, yeah. Also saving space in the basement.
Right,
Yeah.
great.
All right, thank you very much.
Notes?
So communication subcommittee had their second meeting, last Thursday.
Their what meeting? Second?
Communication subcommittee had their second meeting, yes. So the looking at putting together the Facebook page, starting some branding, and hopefully launching a Facebook page by September, October. So I would just request permission for them to use the town seal on Facebook and other branding material that
Make a
they're
motion.
ready to use.
Isn't that non-copyrightable anyways?
It's not, but we have a town policy that says that they need to request permission
Request,
from the
okay.
select board to
Gotcha.
use it.
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
National Night Out is coming up on 8/2 from 5 to 7 p.m. You guys had decided that you would not hold a meeting that week, so if you could just come by the office by 4 to send the manifest so that we can get all of that squared away, that would be appreciated. 2 meetings ago, you signed land use change text warrants for 29 through 35 Route 107 for $13,750 per site. Jim has met with the developer, so the initial 2 units of that subdivision went out, the land use change tax bills went out for $12,500. So Jim has issued a revised memo requesting that you abate the $1,250 for each unit, so it's a abatement for $5,000 across the 4 units. Based off of the actual sale price of the land at the time of the,
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
there's
Anybody opposed?
4 separate ones that need to be signed, one for each lot.
Just one, or all of us?
All 4 of you need to, or all 5 of you need to sign all 4. And last week we had discussed additional linear feet of guardrail on the Mill Road Bridge on the downstream side. The additional cost is $2,262 if you'd be interested in replacing that piece of guardrail.
Wayne should have that in his budget, right?
Maybe in his road construction, but I think he's watching his budget tight because he's concerned about fuel.
Fuel.
And that was just to replace that extra little additional strip that wasn't in the
Scope of work.
original design.
Yes.
I think that's reasonable, because
But
it
it's
needs
a-
replacing, right?
It's existing now, yes.
What are we gonna take it out of?
The couplers are from Mill Road Bridge.
Oh, there's enough in there.
Motion.
Yep, second.
Motion second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carries.
That's all I have for public. And I don't have any non-public unless you have questions for me.
So you just gotta wait until
Russ?
it's time to call. Look at that.
Do you have anything to ask?
Generally speaking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So I wanna. Oh, this. Sorry. I really wanna try. There are 4.
There's 4
There
of
are
them.
4.
4. Just keep flipping the pages.
We got time. You gotta wait until 7:30.
This is a test, can you sign and talk at the same time?
Nope. All right, I did it.
Thank you, I don't have long arms.
I know.
Great, now I'll picture this in Toronto.
A couple of things that I think I brought up here or there, but I just wanted to follow up on the idea of, now that we're all here, the idea of ventilation for town offices, town buildings, with the, what is it, ARPA?
ARPA.
Yeah. I had asked a while back about whether or not there was anything we could do, going forward with that, and we never really did discuss it. So I don't know whether it's one of these, actual units that sits in the corner, or whether there's something else that can be done, but anyway.
Was anything discussed by the prior board? I don't remember.
No.
About using those ARPA funds for ventilation at town buildings?
I think we've pretty much spent all the ARPA funds,
I
because
thought we had 200K held over.
We were using that for
fire,
offset.
well,
We were holding it for
75.
fire, right?
But I think the units that they have at the fire station, they're standalone units that they're portable, they can move them around.
Yeah.
So they have one for each floor. They have one that they keep in the conference room downstairs and one in the training room upstairs. And I think they were about $1,500 a piece.
Do we have impact on us for that?
So we could use impact fees. You could put one here and then put one in the Sanborn room, if that's what you.
Were those
Like to do?
were those newly purchased at fire because of COVID?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the only town building that so far had any purchases?
I think the library has something, don't you?
Yeah, I have cleaning service for this year, which is gonna be, I think, we allotted for 3,000, but I think it's gonna be closer to 2,000.
But you have an air purifier?
We don't have an
Oh,
air.
I thought they.
So ventilation wise, there was nothing done at the library?
No.
I think the school was the only place that added
Yeah, they put
an
in.
air cleaner.
Yep.
Right.
I think, yeah, before we go into the winter season, cold and flu season, it might be reasonable to think about if there's any
If we have the money
way we
in
could do it. If we have
impact
impact fees,
fees,
especially if.
I would,
If there's
$1,500 a
portable units.
piece, I'd almost say, yeah, we can get 2 here and then you get some for the library.
All right, so we'll price them out to make sure that they're adequate for square footage and then come back for that
Mhm.
request.
Yeah, as I said
Just to be
before,
prepared.
even putting COVID aside, I just think they're a wise investment anyway, especially when we're packed into small areas with a lot of different people, so.
Well, not just that, is you have older buildings that have been prone to water infiltration, so
Mhm.
you never know what's in the air anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a nice way to put that.
Thank you.
Still before 7:30.
John?
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
I'm not done.
I was gonna say, look at the list.
He has a very
It's
long
half
list. I do have a long list, but I'm actually not gonna
You
cover
got,
them
you
all.
got 40
You
minutes.
got 40 minutes.
Yeah. It'll be less than that. So, as I mentioned before, and we talked about a little bit, and I've talked with Karen one-on-one, but about electricity prices, getting ready to shoot through the roof, for everybody. And trying to come up with something that the town can provide, a resource for the town to provide to residents so that they can understand ways to try and save energy, potentially even if they want to seek a third-party energy provider. That has its ups and its downs, and you get locked into a contract, this and that. So doing it the right way, giving good guidance to residents, because obviously this one is gonna really hurt. So, anyway, I've seen a few things out there that have been put out by like legislature and such that help with that. So I forget where we left it. You had a suggestion on that, but I forgot. Maybe putting it on the website.
And putting together like a flyer or something that we can leave on our windows that people can take. It's Sue
Yeah.
Benoit, the welfare director. She works with budgets and things like that, different resources with the organizations that she has.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because it's, the problem with like seeking a third party, is that, number one, as soon as you start to tell people what you should be careful about and check this and check that, you lose a lot of people that way. And then, if they do it, like I said, there can be issues with getting locked into long-term contracts and all that. But at the same time, I think we've all heard now the percentage increases.
112%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's not, this is gonna have a serious impact on a lot of people, I think, so. So I don't know if anyone has anything else on that, but I just wanted to try and have something available.
I know I went to, my wife ended up finding one of those other, you can buy this from a different supplier or whatever. And so it was only, I think it was a 3-cent increase compared to what was gonna be a 22-cent increase or something like that through Eversource, so we changed.
So, okay. So the solar
Yeah,
update
Jay-
is, is there a question?
I was just gonna say, Russ, I'd be happy to, if you guys need people that can speak to that, I'd be happy to run a program with the library also,
Okay,
and get some people in there.
that's
So maybe
good.
we can talk after.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
New Hampshire Saves has a program, which, that's more of energy reduction rather than
It's still,
energy.
But publicizing that might be good, in terms of, it's hard to tell sometimes what's legit,
Right.
it's still helpful, for
We also
sure.
have that communication page is gonna be starting too, so that's something
Yeah.
we can also throw information up there.
The solar
'Cause-
update is coming, right?
That is on the schedule for 8/16.
8/16, okay. And we talked about, well, I guess we didn't really talk about the, are we good to go as far as the notification sort of protocol for the Seabrook alarm? Is that good? Like, did it work the way it was supposed to work, I guess?
So if there was an event, then Rick Murphy, who's the emergency management director, would notify the PD. The PD would notify me, and then I would start contacting the select board.
So because there was no actual incident, it didn't make its way all the way through?
Correct.
Okay.
Rick Murphy did receive something directly from Seabrook Station saying that there was no emergency to the public, and I've asked him to just forward those communications to me.
Okay.
So that happened
Going
quick
forward.
enough that he hadn't done
Right.
the next steps.
Thank you.
Well,
So tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, we're gonna do, the Economic Development Committee meeting. We're gonna review a couple of things that are gonna be a little bit different than normal. We're gonna review a handful of, specific grant programs that, have open application periods that we'll be looking for, additional monies for, economic development in the town. Their other update is that there's been a little bit of discussion, I brought it up, the Plan New Hampshire potential charrette on the, with the rec facility area. And the, I think we discussed, we mentioned maybe splitting the cost of the, I forget if it's $6,000 or $7,000, but $6,000 or $7,000. And it sounds like, between a straw poll here and a straw poll with the rec committee, it sounds like that would be great if we do get accepted into that program. So just to give everyone an update on that front. Yeah, that's all I got.
And Conservation Commission, kind of cruising along, they do have a couple properties that they're talking to some owners and working with some outside conservation groups such as SELT and I think there's the Northeast Regional,
land trust?
something like that, yeah. They're working with them with some of the recognized properties they have, but as we've discussed before, I can't disclose them because if you do, then you get
What's
developers.
the time frame for that, like, in terms of definitive decisions being
Um,
made? I know it's been months and
Yeah,
months
they
in
have
works.
to basically sit down with the parties that are interested, get kind of a commitment for them, what they're looking for, and then they start looking to see what they can get from these other outside places. What does Brentwood need to contribute? And then we move from there. And then really factoring in, like if we preserve, we have what, $2 million, $3 million? What is it? $2 million. So if we do $2 million, does that conserve $8 million worth of property? That's what they're looking at right now, and from what they're seeing, it's actually, it looks like it's about 3 times whatever you end up investing in it is what they're conserving, based by the time you get everything else in there. And they do have a couple people that are pretty interested, and the good thing is it looks like a lot of those sites are either gonna be pretty contiguous about where we already have conservation, so it just expands that footprint, which is great for us. So.
There's no like specific timeline, it just kind of depends how it all
It
plays
really
out.
depends on how it plays out, and then really finding out what are they looking for, because somebody might want, and there's different types of programs that they have. There's some land that you can still farm on, and then there's some that it's just in conservation because it's wetlands or whatever. They get more for the wetlands than they do if they do for farmland, so, but we still want to be able to make sure down the road, if somebody needs to farm something locally, we have the ability to farm that land. If we put it into the wetlands easements, then you forfeit the right to ever farm on that property. And there's a couple properties that they're looking at that they have really good farmland, but, and ultimately people are gonna go for where they get the biggest bang, right? So figuring out which grant we can go with and how to offset that and what those dollar figures are, and those are long discussions because there's research that has to be done by like CELT, for example. One of the things that they talked about with one of the parties at CELT was, all right, how much would that work out to be? What's the difference? And do we say, all right, is it $78,000 difference? And then do we pay $78,000 out of the funds that are available? Or do you say, no, let's do it this way and go to wetlands? It sounds like it's not an easy process. CELT, for example, has over 10,000 acres right now. So there's a lot that they're managing, so they're a valuable resource, I think, that they're reaching out to, along with Northeast, whatever conservation commission that they have, and trying to find out where we can get the best deal. So I think Bob Stevens is working with like 3 different groups, and you see where you can get the best one, and then they have to sit down with those families that are interested. What are you looking for? Okay, now you guys are looking for this. What can we, if we do put it in conservation, it's a benefit for the town, but we also can't say, here's $2 million, just because we have that $2 million to one person. So it's a back and forth. And some of this property has come up before for conservation, and then they weren't happy with it, and they walked away. So I think it's a slow approach is what they're doing. So that's where we're at.
Sounds good.
Jen,
Don't have anything?
public comment?
You got 29 minutes.
Grant?
Really fast. Liz Ferrier from South Road. One of my questions is about, it was my understanding that you couldn't have any more driveways on 125, so this might be a planning, like a John.
That's
I
a
think
state
that's
issue.
State issue because it's a
Right,
state
right,
road.
But, oh, maybe he's already figured it out, but I was just wondering how that new farm stand got a new driveway.
It's a DOT issue. The town has nothing to do with it.
Okay, so it's.
Out of our purview.
Okay.
Just, the reason I brought it up is because it screwed some other people that were looking to develop.
Oh, I can imagine.
And I can't imagine that they would, give it to somebody and not to somebody else unless, maybe there was money involved, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't
so,
imply anything.
so it's not quite a hard and fast rule. Okay.
Well, we don't know. That's DOT, state
our
level.
rule.
It's definitely an extra driveway, wasn't it?
It's like asking me about Epping clearing land, I don't know.
No. Well, I mean, when you've told
Karen,
people
sorry.
that you can't have another driveway, I just think it's kind of weird. John, you had reported on something and I just didn't know what it was. Plan New Hampshire or something with the recreation department?
So it's called a charrette, which was a new word for me recently, but basically, Plan New Hampshire is this organization. It's actually really, really cool. I'll give you the website because I happen to have it up. It is just plannh1word.org.
Okay.
And it's a, one of the programs that they have is that they come in, they meet for a whole weekend with the town, with as many people as we can get from the town, and they take our ideas and they transform it into a actual
Master plan.
like a
We've already-
drawings.
We've already done this, but I don't know if you know that or not, there should be some documentation about having done this, we've done it before.
Yeah, so for the rec area, all of that whole area. So we would be looking at a facility, bathrooms, what are the important elements that we.
The rec is what we're considering for economic development, correct?
It would be one of the elements along 125 that would be impacting the development of the
So
town.
that would be new expenditures on our end, but not new tax revenue to us, because it's already our buildings and stuff, right?
But we can have this conversation offline, but the
Okay.
Plan NH is responsible for doing a charrette, which is a plan
And
that
is this
would.
something we have to pay for?
The town would incur a very minor expense, something in the range, I don't remember if it's $6,000 or $7,000.
If that's on top of, I just remember when the economic development committee was first proposed, it was not supposed to cost us anything. So
Yes,
it cost us
we
a lot.
tend to talk about this every week, Liz.
Yes, we kind of do, and it's bothering me every week. but I'll
And
change
we
the
have
subject.
a total expenditure of the Economic Development Committee thus far
It
of
was like $900 or something.
$900.
Okay.
That's more than.
It's more than nothing. My one
budgeted.
other thing that I get really worried about is when I see Chief Ventura here, because he's a really good salesman. And I'm kind of with you, John, when you put on, in 2 weeks, the plans for what we're doing, which we don't even know if we're doing, and we don't even know if we're doing those plans, blown up, so here's the new police station we're thinking of getting, and here's the new canine. And I very much like George Jablin, and I much like the canine meeting, but it wasn't nearly low cost.
Tamara, can we commemorate that Liz Faria said that she is with John Morgan? Just get that in the notes, it's 7:04 p.m.
But I'm saying except for the, yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a done deal.
I think
Show us there.
he's super aware he has to get the town on board. I think he said, I gotta get this in front of the voters. I don't know if
But
the
it's not
voters are
even,
with
we don't
me.
even know which plan, which site, which.
But
I don't know,
there
it's
has,
all premature.
there's been a committee,
I can tell you, there's already a plan, we already have a building design, we got all that. It was
By the
part
fire station, we're talking about that
No,
one.
no,
of- No, it's behind the fire station, that's the
We were doing a
land.
couple of years ago, Liz.
No, I've been to like.
And that has already been designed, and we have conceptual stuff on that, there was a lot of hours
It's just
and
a lot of money for
hours
all these
put in
things
there,
that-
so. And yeah, I mean, it's something that we know we would have to put out a warrant article for that.
Right,
It's
that's
gonna
good.
be
No, I
a
get it.
bond
No, I
and
know.
everything else, so.
You done?
Go ahead.
Now I have to make some comments. So let's start with the fire station. As I remember, maybe my memory is faulty, but as I remember, it took a couple of years to get the fire station.
Four, I
and
think.
was proposed from the fire station that we were gonna put the fire station, we were gonna make that a public safety compound. The police department and the fire department were all gonna be together. That didn't happen. Now we have the $1 million fire station that I heard tonight is beginning to deteriorate. Not badly, but it's beginning to go downhill, it's already 10 years old. I don't know that if you're thinking about the highway shed, that's another expense that's coming up, that we planned for, and then we spent that money, and now we have to come up with another $500,000. The fire, the.
Did you have a
police
question, Bill?
department- The police department is gonna look at about $3 million, so we're looking at like $3.5 million to do just the 2 buildings that I know of, that I'm aware of now, and where's that money gonna come? We're gonna bond some more money? I mean, as you look, and I will say this again, John, I'm with you on this one as well, when you say you're a little concerned about the inflation and what's gonna happen.
One
Two for each.
707.
You should mark those down, we don't have to worry about it. But,
707.
I'm a little concerned about where we're going, we're just spending money like we're drunken sailors here, I don't hear any of you on the board ask any relevant questions about how much money we're gonna spend for this. Every time, and I love the chief, don't get me wrong, I think he's done a great job, but I hear lots of things that concern me about spending money at the police department, not just the new building. There's a lot of other things that I hear rumors about that are going on, and every time the chief comes in here, he gets it. I think you need to start pulling back a little bit on the fiscal reins and say, hey, we cut taxes last year, we don't need to raise them up again now that we've cut them. So I think I would caution you all to be a little bit more fiscally responsible and asking questions about people coming in here and asking for things. I know things have to be done, and I've already done this one. I'd be a little cautious.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Any other comment?
Oh, sorry.
Still got 20 minutes.
Well, no, because we can adjourn.
Is COVID, and there's no, this is probably the first time I've come, nobody's been wearing a mask, is it COVID?
It's at low in Rockingham County. It has been. It was high for about 3-4 weeks when I had discussed it back, earlier in the beginning of the summer, and we've been at low rates since then. It may not stay that way,
I know
but so
Massachusetts
far.
is going.
I've heard a lot of people getting COVID, but very minor, but a lot of.
Well,
people.
B5 is circulating now, so.
I'll take a
yeah.
motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Now you guys can have all kinds of conversations you want.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's likely to go up, but right now we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.